So we've put together a series of videos about everything insurance related, but today I'm keen to talk about the context of insurance that have come up within the Edinburgh Care Forum. Now, many people know that I'm one of the co-founders of the forum, and my interest came about was my very first client was a lady going into a care home, and she asked us to rent out the property that would help her subsidise her care home cost, but also allow her to keep the property to eventually pass on to one of her children. And this was a really emotional journey for her, but also very informative for me. And it made me realise that there's an awful lot of people out there who need the professional services, but have those services provided in a really caring way, but also with a really joined up approach, which is what the forum is all about, which is brilliant. And I know that when we meet monthly, we discuss lots of issues, from tax to power of attorneys, care at home, care fees planning, and so forth. But one of our mutual areas of interest, Alex, is definitely insurance. And from my point of view and our landlord's point of view, can often be the empty property insurance. And as a result of my involvement in the forum, Chapman's offer a void property service whereby we regularly inspect empty properties. And these properties may be owned by someone who's just transitioned into care, it may be on the sales market, or they're just they also may just be being renovated or something like that. You know, the landlord's just deciding what they're going to do with it. So I was just wondering, in terms of insurance, what sort of things should we be thinking about, and what sort of things should we be doing once that property becomes empty?
So the first thing the owner of a property should do that becomes unoccupied is to let their insurance broker or their insurer know about it straight away. It's a material change to the risk. There's nobody residing at the property anymore, and that makes it vulnerable. So that's the first thing that they should do. The insurer is likely to potentially continue with the cover, maybe until renewal, or they'll say we'll continue cover but with certain subjectivities, and other insurers will say it's not within our risk appetite anymore, we wish to withdraw from insuring. So at Bruce Stevenson we can arrange cover for unoccupied properties with insurers who particularly specialise in that, and as you said, the unoccupancy can occur for a number of reasons, whether it's being put on the market for being sold, there's somebody transitioning into care, and so on and so forth. But there will be stipulations on the policy that the property would need to be checked at least weekly, and a lot of people think that that's really to do with theft, which there is some element of that. But actually it's largely to do with things like escape of water. If a pipe starts leaking and it's unchecked, well, really any longer than a day, but certainly after a week, there's going to cause serious damage and complications. So it's to make sure that that those sorts of things are checked. And I know that you at Chapman's offer this void service that you've just touched on. It would be useful just to know a little bit more about what you actually offer.
Absolutely, we've got a long checklist, some of which have been provided by you, which is very helpful. But we will go into the property. Obviously, we're not valuers and we're not surveyors, but we're property people. So we're checking, we're removing all the posts. We're checking any water ingress. Checking are the pipes dry. Checking, is there any drafts coming through? Are the windows okay? Are there any signs of any issues with the property? Are the gutters, if it's a house, are they overflowing? Are there any downpipes leaking? These sorts of things. So we're just really physically going in, and one of the things we've heard is very useful is that because we write up that inspection, we've got an audit trail of the fact that we've been in there, and I don't know whether it does help, but it's a third party saying, no, we have inspected this property.
And I think that's really important, Laura, because insurers with unoccupied property insurance will stipulate that weekly inspection is recorded, because otherwise there's no way of knowing it. So, and a lot of people, I think, don't take that seriously, so that if the eventuality of something happening, they can't produce a record or a meaningful record that states actually that it has been checked. And prevention, as we all know, is better than cure. And we would rather be in a situation where we can mitigate the loss as much as possible by using your amazing services in that respect, than having to sort of suffer going through a difficult insurance loss.
We actually had an instance where a landlord was selling a property, and it was due to complete in about 8 or 12 weeks. Now, we don't do sales, but it sort of kept on progressing, and because we looked after other properties with her, we sort of kept saying, how's it going, how's the sale going? and so it's fallen through. And I then said to her, I said, what's happening with that property? Is anyone inspecting it? How's your insurance? And the landlord went away and went, oh my God, I didn't realise I'm actually at risk here. I should be inspecting it. And obviously that's something we then did for her. But at no point had the estate agent or anybody said to her, you must let your insurance company know that, as you say, there's a change of risk because it's empty, but also by the fact that this has just been going on and on and on and on and on. I think it took her over a year to sell this property because of various issues, title deed issues and things like that.
And do you offer your void service to clients who haven't necessarily got let properties through yourself? So if somebody was needing to leave a property unoccupied for, let's say, 3 or 4 months because they have a property abroad that they're visiting, but they're coming back. Is that something that you're able to offer?
Yeah, absolutely, as long as it's within a sensible geographical reach, so that we can physically get to it each week. But no, absolutely, that is something we can do.
That's useful to know.
The other question I had as well is maybe somebody's has gone into care, but they're making adaptations on their house to come back to it. What do we need to be thinking about in terms of insurance there? Because the reason why that sprung to mind is I was actually renovating my own property recently, and I remember that I had to take out a slightly different policy whilst the works were ongoing. And then once the works were complete, we could then go on to a slightly cheaper policy, because there was less risk. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Renovation works. So many policies, different limits, and they're all different, but a lot of policies will offer some level of cover whilst renovation works are being undertaken. Within the sort of standard marketplace for insurance, I would suggest that the limit is between sort of maybe £10,000. So works, sort of interior decorations, you've got contractors in, works up to around £10,000 are probably included within your existing policy, but definitely worth checking. That's a very broad brush, and of course there are hundreds of policies out there, so I couldn't be more specific than that. When you get sort of slightly higher value property insurance policies, you're probably likely to have a more sophisticated insurance policy, and the limits are higher, tend to be starting at about 50, and the sort of the high net worth policies can be up to £150,000 cover. So that cover for renovation works is built into the policy. When you're undertaking serious work, so a lot of people who may have bought a property are going to do some serious work to it before they move into
knocking walls down and
all of that. Then they're quite likely to want to have a contractor's all risks policy as well as their own policy covering the structure of the house. And we always suggest to clients or advise clients that they take ownership of the insurance there rather than relying on the contractor to provide a policy, who will have some element of cover, but you want to look after your own property, make sure the buildings and contents to some extent are covered, but also the contract works are covered, because if the contractor was to go bust, that would leave you high and dry without any cover. So we have insurance providers that can provide that on a residential basis, contractor's risk and the existing structure all at the same time. So it all comes down to material information, material facts, thinking about what risks are affecting the property. When a home is being renovated, the risk has changed. Contractors are coming and going, so the security of the property is compromised. As you say, alluded to, walls may be knocked down and things moved around. So it's no longer a residential home that's being used for everyday purposes of living. It's effectively a building site, and with that comes different risks. So that's why, again, it's important to let your broker, let your insurer know what's going on, assess the policy, see what the existing limits are. If they're not sufficient, then you need to try and get something else potentially in place.
And I think that goes back to what we've talked about in our other videos, is how important it is to be able to speak to somebody about it. Instead of just going online and says, well, computer says no, or you don't
especially
have
with renovation works, because we often need to find out details of who the contractor is, what the level of the contract value is, and what sort of, whether there's going to be hot works involved, all that sort of hot works where you need to use torches to heat torches to so again that presents that can present to your fire risk. So all that sort of information.
Gosh, it's amazing, isn't it? All the things that you have to be thinking about. And especially in terms of the forum, you could be going through a very stressful period of time. And you do want to just have somebody, keep yourself protected, but take a lot of that stress away.
And I think the discussions that I have with the forum in terms of Bruce Stevenson and private clients specifically can help with is dealing with those situations when they're in a slightly stressful time for what there may have been a bereavement or somebody has to move into care, and they want to be able to speak to somebody, you know, even if it's just to have a health check of the current insurance. Sometimes what we do find is that if particularly if there's a larger property involved, and somebody's had to go into care or has been bereaved, sometimes they can't find the insurance policy. Is there even one in place? So if it's been established that there doesn't seem to be one, we can put something in place very quickly. We can often go out and visit the premises if that's required to do that. And it's all about relationships. And as I say, so many things can be grey, not black and white, and you just want to be able to talk it through with somebody that's understanding, can take the time and have the patience to talk through something which, you know, can be quite complex at times. Particularly if it's been a large property that's been vacated and there are items of fine art in there or antiques and so on, you know, we can help making sure that, again, that unoccupied property policy is put in place. If there are particularly high value items, we can recommend where they might want to be stored instead of in the home, and so on and so forth. Just guiding the client through the various different requirements they might have.
Absolutely. I think things like paintings, it's all about the humidity and the temperature and these sorts of things as well, isn't it?
No, absolutely. And again, escape of water, you know, which can cause real damage to those sorts of things. So, I mean, some unoccupied properties only will provide up to a certain level of cover for contents. So, you know, it's about which professional storage facilities we can move those items to
and you can help with that.
And we can help advise on that.
That's great. Just goes to show, though, in terms of the Edinburgh Care Forum, how fantastic it is that all us professionals, we meet together, we're discussing all these different issues that our individual clients are having, and then we've got the benefit of the forum to tap into for our clients.
And as I say, it provides that joined up approach for anybody who might need it. So having that referral service, I think, is fantastic.
Brilliant. Well, look, Alex, thank you so much for coming in today to talk about everything insurance. Obviously, you know, for more information in terms of the things that you provide, we can certainly supply that to anybody who's interested, and your contact details will be at the end of this video. But I just want to thank you again so much for coming in.
Thank you.